6th of May, Rabbi Furst, Parsha Hashavua Emor.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
Okay. Sorry to be late. Okay, good morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshivat Samanavshi here in Yerushalayim Zoom, Erev Shabbos Parshas Emor, Shana Toshin Pei Beis. Okay, let's take a look at the pasuk here. We'll start here. It says here in Perek Chav Gimel. And we'll start at the beginning. Okay, Perek Chav Gimel.
23 somewhere off base off Gimel. From the beginning of Chof Gimel, did you want?
Yeah, we'll read the first. The first one is the introduction. Let's start Aleph and Base, then we'll take a look at Rashi, and then we'll continue a bit on from there. It's Hashem.
Where does
Chav Gimel, right?
where does it start from? Is it Vaydaber Hashem El Moshe Lamor?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where it starts. Yeah. Okay, so good. You got that verse now. Roy, you want to continue the next pasuk base?
All right. I can read it because it's got everything there for me. Daber el b'nai Yisrael v'amata Elohem Moadei ad Hashem asher tikra'u Hasom mikro kodesh Elohem Moadei. Right, say what the translation is for those ones.
Yeah, please. Yes, let's translate that further.
And this Sefer says, and the Eternal spoke to Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel and declare unto them the appointed festivals of the Eternal, which you shall proclaim to be convocations of holiness. Even these are my appointed festivals. And Pasuk 3, 6 days may work be done, but the 7th day is a Shabbos of strict rest, a convocation of holiness. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Eternal in all your habitations.
Oh, very good. Okay, now let's like to take a look at the Rashi on pasuk base, right? It says the Be'el B'nai Yisrael Moadei Hashem, the Moadei Hashem. So Rashi makes a comment here.
Sorry, which pasuk do you want again in Russian?
It is second pasuk.
Second pasuk, okay. Base, all right. Aseh Me'ados Shehir Yisrael, is that right?
Yes.
Milafardin Bahem Shom Avarim Es Hashona Al Nalios Shenokru Mimikod Mon Leolos the
regel.
The regel V'adiyin lo Hanil L'Yerushalayim, and then there's a word in brackets, Mispara or something.
In brackets, you have something in brackets?
Yeah, just one word, Sephora.
Sifrei, yeah, that's the source.
Sifrei.
That's the Sifrei, that's the Medrash.
Right.
That's the Medrash that Rashi is quoting. So let's first translate what Rashi says, and we'll give some thought to what Rashi is teaching us over here.
Okay. This is possible to speak unto the children of Israel and declare unto them the appointed festivals of the Lord. This means, says Rashi, regulate the festive seasons in such a manner that all Israel should become practiced in them, in their observance. Hence, we derive the law that they, the Sanhedrion, proclaim a leap year, that is, intercalcate a second Adar for the sake of those living in the diaspora who have already left their homes in order to go up for the festival but have not yet arrived in Yerushalayim. Pasuk 3, Rashi says, 6 days may work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of strict rest. What relation is there between the Sabbath, the day that is invariably fixed by God as the holy day, and the festive seasons, as the times of which are variable, being dependent on the proclamation of the Sanhedrion? By putting both into juxtaposition, Scripture intends to teach you that he who desecrates the festivals is regarded as though he had desecrated the Shabbos. And he who keeps the festivals is regarded as though he had kept the Shabbos. Sifra.
Oh, very good. Basically the same source as the first Rashi.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Lou.
It's Rashi. Because it says the people have already left and they haven't arrived.
Right.
And now the Sanhedrin is going to intercalate a month. They're going to add a month because in their estimation, the roads are muddy and it's delaying people.
Right.
So couple of problems I have with that. Number one, it would seem to me that the people themselves would be better qualified to make the estimation of how much the mud is going to impede them, since they're the ones that come 3 times a year. They know the route. They know the effect of the mud on their wagons or whatever, and they should make the calculation and leave earlier. That's one problem, that it would seem to me that they would do that and not the Sanhedrin the other way around. The other problem is they left planning on arriving for the holiday, and now there's going to be an extra month, which means they're going to be really early. Even if they're delayed, it would seem to me that they wouldn't be delayed that much, that they'd be a month late. And now all of a sudden they've got a whole bunch of extra days that they hadn't counted on and they haven't budgeted for. And it seems it's going to create a lot of trouble. It's not going to have the desired effect.
Okay. So let's take one question at a time. The first question that you were assuming that the people who were out there and the travelers, they would know what's best in terms of how much time they need to get to Yerushalayim. So it's true that those are the people that they're actually there, so to speak, in the field, right? Or as you put it, they're in there in the mud, right? Like usually everything else being equal, so there's a standard amount of time that it takes to travel from one place to the next. But as you mentioned, the primary consideration is that the winter is lagging on a bit longer than normal, and because of that, there's rains and there could be chilly weather, and when the rains come and the roads have not been repaired, because actually, to tell you the truth, there was a special considerations that in Adar, after Purim, there would be work done in order to make the roads fit for travel again. Meaning, during the winter time, most people are not going to be traveling, right? Because the roads become impassable to a great extent. Not only that, the roads we're not dealing with paved roads at all. There, it was highly unusual to have paved roads of any extent whatsoever. So they were basically just dirt paths to one extent or another. And with the erosion of the rains and the mudslides and all these kind of things, the roads became very, very difficult to pass through. So there would be time taken out from Purim onward, getting the roads ready, that the people coming from not only out of Eretz Israel, but also from within Eretz Israel should have the roads in a passable way, right? So that would be something that was taken into consideration from the very beginning. And so the ones that were the experts to do these things, that was the Sanhedrin, right? The Chachamim, the Gedolei Torah of the generation, they would be able to see the whole situation to determine that the roads were in situations that would cause a delay for people to come. The second consideration that you were concerned about, that the people that they'd be getting there too early, right? So when people would come to Yerushalayim, the Holy Regel, the people who lived in Yerushalayim took a special responsibility upon themselves of Achnasas Orchi. So there was always plenty to have and to eat and to take care of in Yerushalayim. When a person came to Yerushalayim, he had no worries, right? He didn't have to worry about bringing extra money, about bringing extra food, having a place to stay. People in Yerushalayim were used to having people coming at least 3 times a year. The people coming to Yerushalayim for the Rabbanis and the other things that they would come to Yerushalayim for. So they were very well capable and interested and desirous of helping people come to Yerushalayim, and they would be available to give them the Haknasas Orchim that they needed, even if they would come several weeks earlier. And the main question that that caused the change of the season, meaning that the rains were lagging on because the winter was dragging on as well. So they were considered. This is what the Sisei Chachamim says in comments of his Rashi, that we were more concerned that the people should not get there late and miss the regel, rather than getting there too early. It would be worse if they would get there late and miss the Yom Tov, because that way, there's a Sifsei Chachamim say, if they got there late, that would cause them to think twice about coming another time, right? They would say, well, last year we tried and we came late and we missed out. So this year, maybe we're not going to come. So that's a question of being what we call mevatel a mitzvah, right? That they would lose out on doing a mitzvah. So we're more concerned with the complexity of having the people come too late and miss the Yom Tov, miss the regel, that they were going through a lot of difficulty. It's not easy in those days. The Gemara in Psachim says the people would pick up and leave their homes, and they didn't leave guards guarding their homes. They would leave their homes and they would come to Yerushalayim, and they didn't have electric cameras and alarm systems hooked up to the fire department and the Magen David and the police, right, and the Mishmar B'Gevul. Those people, when they left their homes, they left the homes open. And the Gemara says that miracles took place. There were people who would come and they would know that the people would be going and leaving their homes, coming to Shalim, and be gone for a good 2-3 weeks, perhaps. And Kadosh Baruch Hu made special miracles for those people, that they would have their possessions and their homes and their farms and their livestock protected for them. And but if they got up and left and they did all this effort to come to Shalim and they missed out by a couple of days or a week's time, so they would most likely say when it comes to the next year, they would be hesitant about doing it again.
Okay, I've got another question, if I may.
Yeah, Roy, go ahead.
It says here in the last few lines of Pasuk 3, Rashi says that if you keep the Chagim, then you're regarded as though you've kept Shabbos. If you desecrated the Chagim, it's as though you desecrated Shabbos, and vice versa. If you kept Shabbos, it's as if you kept the Chagim, and if you desecrated Shabbos, it's like you desecrated the Chagim. Okay, now that sort of leaves open. So what is it? If I take that literally, which you suppose you should, I'm not too sure, then it means that, does that mean that, oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask if I desecrated the Shabbos and then I kept the Chag, where do I stand? But then if you desecrate the Shabbos, you've desecrated the Chag. Right. If I desecrated the Chag before, if I desecrated the Shabbos or the Chag before the other came, but then if I desecrated the Shabbos before the Chag started, and when the Chag came, I kept the Chag.
Right. So
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think your question is perhaps as follows, meaning
is what?
If a person is going to keep Shabbos, right, but not keep the Yom Tov, right? Does his keeping Shabbos somewhat exempt him from keeping the Yom Tov, or the opposite way? When a person is going to desecrate the Shabbos, does that somewhat nullify his keeping the Yom Tov, right? Doesn't seem to make sense. Is that what you seem to be bothered by?
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Okay. I was thinking about this myself as well. That there's a general rule. I think we can answer it in the following way. There's a general rule that a mitzvah, Chazal say, a mitzvah does not extinguish an avera. An avera does not extinguish a mitzvah, meaning each thing is taken in and of itself independently. The person does a mitzvah, he gets credit for the mitzvah. He does it in a avera, he's going to be judged and have to bear responsibility for the avera in and of itself, regardless of what other mitzvahs he does. Meaning a person can't say, well, I learn a lot of Torah and I do a lot of tzedakah, and so therefore he feels that if he has a desire to eat non-kosher food, he has a right to keep non-kosher food. No, there's no connection between the two. Keeping the mitzvahs is what you have to do, and staying away from the averos is what you also have to do. The fact that a person keeps mitzvahs, right, doesn't exempt him from not doing averos. That there's a halacha when it comes to a person who wants to misgayer. Let's say a ger comes, and a potential ger comes, and he says, please teach me all about the Torah. I'm very interested. And you teach him all about the Torah. He understands everything very well. So he says, okay, everything is great. It's all beautiful, except this one mitzvah. Even one custom, right? If he says that, you don't accept him to be a ger. He has to take the whole gamut of mitzvahs and customs and laws according to the full extent of the Shulchan Aruch. And if he refuses even one small detail of all of the Shulchan Aruch and all of the customs that the Jews keep and have kept for generations, he's not considered to be a true ger. Right? Yes, the Kabbalist mitzvahs is the whole package, as they say. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's true. Look, there's a person says in the pasuk, "Ein tzaddik ba'aretz she'asa tov v'lo yechta." There's no tzaddik in the land. There's no tzaddik in all of the earth. She'asa tov, that does good, v'lo yechta, and it doesn't sin. Meaning, everybody, to a greater extent, a lesser extent, whatever they are, according to their level of intelligence and understanding and desire to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everyone has tremendous merits for the mitzvahs that he does. And there are those that will do averas, whether they're going to be intentional averas, whether they're going to be unintentional averas, whether they'll be done because of forgetfulness or lack of understanding, lack of learning, whatever it may be. A person may be keeping Shabbos, right? But the Chavetz Chaim writes his Hakdama to the Mishnah Berurah, that a person can't truly be keeping Shabbos if he doesn't learn all the laws of Shabbos, because they're so complex that a person, he may think for his whole life that he's been keeping Shabbos, but it could be that since he never learned properly, he's been doing something wrong. From the very beginning, he's been doing something wrong. So unless a person learns all the intricacies of the laws of Shabbos, it's more likely than not that, according to the Chavetz Chaim, that a person is not going to be keeping Shabbos in the proper way, because he needs to learn all the intricacies of all the laws to be keeping Shabbos on a high level of observance. So a person may think that he's doing all these things. So yes, he's keeping Shabbos. In general, he's keeping Shabbos, but he could have some very serious negligences in his keeping of Shabbos. So keeping the Shabbos, as Rashi's teaching us, and that's the explanation for why the psukim here, the verses here, speak about the keeping of Shabbos first, and then it goes into all the moedim, because Shabbos is essentially different from all the other moedim. The fact that it's called a moed is itself, that's what Rashi's in some way coming to explain, because Shabbos is really not a moed. A moed is something which we, as we learned out in the first Rashi, that the Beis Din is fixing. The moed occurs because of what the Sanhedrin declares, whereas Shabbos is not dependent upon the declaration of Sanhedrin in any way whatsoever. It comes every Friday night and exits every Saturday night. That's the way it goes, and it works like clockwork. The moedim, however, are dependent, right? Because we have a what we call a fixed calendar. We now have a fixed calendar, so for us, it's more or less expected and known and established exactly what days will be for the various Yom Tovim and holidays throughout the Jewish calendar year. But in the time when there was a Beis Hamikdash and there was a Sanhedrin, and we had to receive the testimony of the witnesses that they saw the new moon in its newness, and they came to Yerushalayim to the Sanhedrin, gave their testimony. If their edus was heard, and then they verified the statements of the edim, and they also verified the kashrus of the edim themselves, and based on the testimony of the witnesses, would declare the new month, and based on the new month, that would be the determining date of the mode of the festival. And besides that, as the first Rashi pointed out, they also had another wild card. It was a wild card, so to speak, that they could even add a month's time to the year. And for the various reasons, the one Rashi mentions here, because of the people coming up from the Gullus, and the roads would be difficult to pass perhaps, and they wouldn't come to Yerushalayim on time. So rather than be late and take a chance they may not come ever again, so it's better that we extend the whole year for another month's time.
Mhm.
So even though the person's going to keep Shabbos, but if he's not going to respectfully keep the Yom Tovim as well, that is it is tantamount to being Machal Shabbos, even though the Yom Tov is at a little bit less of a level, right, of the Shabbos, meaning Hilul Shabbos is Chayev Mises based in, right? Whereas the Hilul of Yom Tov is not Chayev Mises based in. Hilul Yom Tov, if I'm not mistaken, is only it's a Chayev Lav, meaning it will get lashes, right? But it will not be obligated to receive a punishment of death, either by based in, if there's what we call Edis and Asra, there's witnesses and warning, right? And Yom Tov is different. If there's witnesses and warning, Edis and Asra, the person who's Machal Shabbos simply will get lashes. Again, lashes is not a thing to look forward to. It's a terrible, painful ordeal to go through, a very great trauma to get lashes, especially by based in. It could be a number up to 39 lashes, which is a lot of skin and blood coming off there, right? So that's not something to be taken lightly. As a matter of fact, the Emor in Makkas says the lashes is the beginning of Misa, meaning the person, since he's going to be lashed, and that's going to put him into a situation where his body is now going to become physically pained and damaged and weakened. So that's already a certain amount of Misa, right? It's not Misa Mamish, but it's a certain amount of Misa which he is experiencing. So we shouldn't think that since Yom Tov is on a lesser level of punishment than Shabbos, we shouldn't think that the desecration of Yom Tov is any less than Shabbos, meaning it's considered in terms of the way we look at this person, right? If we're looking in terms of the fact what mitzvahs he's doing, so it's true he's keeping Shabbos. So the fact that he wasn't keeping Yom Tov doesn't change the fact that he keeps Shabbos, right? But the way the Rashi is pointing out, the way we look at him, right? Since this person, even though he's keeping Shabbos, but he's desecrating Yom Tov, we look at him as if he's a desecrator of Shabbos as well, in terms of his fulfillment of mitzvahs in our eyes. We look at him as if he is a person who's Machal Shabbos as well, or a person who's going to keep Shabbos. It's like he keeps the Yom Tovim, or a person keeps the Yom Tovim, it's like he keeps Shabbos as well. So it's not so much in terms of the evaluation of a person in terms of his merits, meaning the fact that a person keeps Shabbos but doesn't keep Yom Tov, is not keeping Yom Tov will not affect his merits for keeping Shabbos. In terms of the rewards and punishments, right, they're two different things. But in terms of how we view the seriousness of his transgression of, say, not keeping Yom Tov, we view, this is Rashi is teaching us, Chazal teaching us, that we view his desecration of Yom Tov as paramount to desecrating the Shabbos. Even though the Shabbos stands at a higher level than the Yom Tov itself, nevertheless, we view him in terms of the desecration that he's caused as being that paramount to desecrating the Shabbos.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, very good. So let's continue. We can go to another pasuk here I'd like to discuss. This is relevant to us here. Pasuk Tesvav. If you see there that Tesvav.
See it. Tesvav. Where am I? Cough, silt, cough. Oh, I'm still in cough. Cough, hey.
Yeah, right. Still in Chav Gimel Tesvav.
Oh, cough, gimel, tesvav. Yud, hey. Yud, tes. been there. Oh, Hashavua. Too far. Hashavua. Too far. Lamed. Let's just Lamed. No, it's before that. Go. Shin. Oh, Lamed. All right. I give up. What's it in English?
Oh, well, that would be that would be 15. Yeah, Pasuk 15, chapter 23, verse 15.
Chapter 23, verse 15. 19, 15. Yud Zion, Yud Tesvav. Oh, I've got it. I have it. Right. Maybe Lou, you could go on if you don't mind.
Abmi Macharas Hashabas Hashavi'is Tis Peru Chamishim Yom Ha Vehik Rav Tem Mincha Chadasha Lashem. Okay, so yeah, it means and you shall count throughout your generations all of your habitations in all of your I'm sorry, I skipped the line. You shall count unto you from the morrow after the day of rest, from the day that you brought the Omer of the wave offering, 7 weeks shall be complete.
Right. So let's take a look at Rashi. And let's see, Tez Zion, and do the next part. Oh, Tez Zion, right?
Tet Zion is Tet Zion.
17. Ad Macharas.
Ad mimacharas hashabas hashvi'is tispru chamishim yom v'kikrav tem mincha chadasha lashem. So until the day after the Shabbos, 7 Hashvi'is 7 Tisperu, you will count Chamishim Yom 5 days, 50 days. And you will 50 days, and you shall offer a new mincha offering to Hashem.
Right.
All right. So the Rashi on Tet Vav, mimacharas Shabbos, from after the Sabbath, mimacharas Yom Tov, after Yom Tov.
Oh, so right. So that's crucial, right? That's crucial. It's when the Torah uses the word Shabbos here, it's not referring to Yom HaShavi, not talking about the 7th day of the week, right? That would throw everything off, right?
Right.
That because here the count has to begin, right, from the day after Pesach, which is the day that's the Mamacharis. Mamacharis is the day after. The day after what? The day after the Yom Tov. Which Yom Tov is that? Now Rashi doesn't say which Yom Tov it is. No, that's not mentioned here. If you look in the whole Parsha here, it doesn't mention anything specifically about Pesach. in relation to these psukim. But that's the way we understand it to be. It's a reference to Pesach, because that was a previous Parsha referring to Pesach, and right, coming to the day after Pesach, that's the beginning of this what we are in the midst of now, the Svirsa Omer, the counting of the Omer. And the counting of the Omer is that 50 days, which brings us to the day of Shavuos, which is the offering of that Mincha Kadasha, right? That Mincha Kadasha is a...
Is that the bread?
Well, what is it? Let's see. What is it? The bread. Right. It says, Rashi says, in a Saorim, it comes from Saorim, from barley. Yeah. Mincha Kadash, right? If you want, you could take a look at the Rashi there, right? Hari Kareva Mincha Omer. Any kasher call Mincha Malachos. It comes min Saorim, comes from barley.
So it's barley bread.
Yeah, apparently.
I've never had barley bread. Is it any good?
I'm not sure. I think you can get it. Yeah, they have it there. It's around.
I've had spelt bread. It's very good.
Yeah. And that's brought specifically 50 days after Pesach.
Right.
I mentioned this before, a few weeks ago, that Shavuos, right, that's the day when you bring the Mincha Chadasha, right? And it's the only one of the Moedim which doesn't have a tarikh, a date. Right? Except for Shabbos. Shabbos is Yom Shvi. Because it says, if you look in Pasuk Hey, the Chodesh Rishon, for Arba Asr, the Chodesh. Bein Arbaim, Pesach Lashem. The 14th of the first month. And then the next Pasuk, Pasuk Vav, B'chamisha Asr Yom LaChodesh, Hagamatzos. Right? That the 14th of the month of Nisan is Chag Pesach. And the 15th day of the month is Chagamatzos. And those days, it has a date. Right? If you look on in Pasuk Chavdalet 24, the Be'el B'nai Yisrael Emor B'chodesh Hashvi in the 7th month. Be'echad B'chodesh Yelem Shabbos Zikaron Trua Mikra Kodesh. That's Zikaron Trua. That's a reference to what we call Rosh Hashanah. Right?
Right.
And again, it's got a specific date. It goes through all the Yom Kippur has a specific date, Sukkot has a specific date, but Shavuos has no specific date.
Mm-hmm.
It's counted 50 days from the 15th of, and so a lot of explanations why Shavuos doesn't have a specific date.
It's the only one that doesn't, isn't it?
The only one. That's right. So the one explanation I like, that's the one I remember. There are others as well, but see, because Shavuos, as we know, corresponds to it's the Yom Matan Seinu, the day of the giving of our Torah, the day that we got the Torah. So Torah is not not given on any particular time. The Torah is given all the time. Kadosh Baruch Hu is constantly giving us Torah. He's constantly that's what we say in our brachas of brachas of Torah, right? That we say the brachas of Torah consists of two, or there's other opinions that it's really three brachas, right? So the bracha that we conclude with, right, is that, right, Brukata, the third bracha we conclude with is Brukata Hashem no sein ha-Torah. Kadosh Baruch Hu, right, he is the one who gives the Torah. And the second bracha, right, we say Brukata Hashem hamalei Torah l'Amo Yisrael. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one who teaches Torah to Israel. So those things are coming on, and those are things which are constant, right? That's something which is constant. So we don't want to say that there's a specific date when the Torah is given, right, so to speak, because the Torah is really being given, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu is teaching Torah to his people, the Jews, on a constant basis. So it's like this, like what you call a remez. It's like an indication, somewhat of a hint of this concept that the Torah is something which is given constantly, something which is always coming from a Kadosh Baruch Hu to his people, the Jews, and it would be a little bit narrow-minded, let's call it that way, a little bit narrow-minded to limit the giving of the Torah to just one particular date in time, because it's really something which is happening constantly, and that's a big lesson for us. Yeah, that's a lesson which we should be able to especially concentrate on during this time of the Omer, right? That we're counting it, getting closer to that day when it comes Baruch, when we remember that was the famous Maimed Har Sinai. When we stood in Har Sinai, we said Nasa v'Nishma. We committed ourselves to keeping the Torah, and we forged that relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is based on our learning Torah and keeping the Torah, and we remember that, and we commemorate that, and we are counting towards that special time. So, okay, that's something to keep in mind when we're involved with counting the Omer as we are right this very day, and all these very days, the 49 days of the Omer that we count. So, okay, something to keep in mind, and hopefully we'll be able to continue next week, Mitzvah Hashem, on Yom Rishon. And in the meantime, everyone should have a very good Shabbos, and hope to see you next time, Mitzvah Hashem.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Have a good Shabbos to you and your family.
All right, well, thank you, Roy.
Yechiel, thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Yeah, Yechiel, yes, you should. Good to see you, Yechiel. I'm glad you're back with us. That's great. And you should have a wonderful Shabbos. And Lou also should have a wonderful Shabbos.
You have a well-earned rest, Lou.
Thank you. Yeah,
He worked very hard this week.
I was up all night last night, so I'm sorry. I'm not so energetic today.
Okay, we'll see you next week, Mr. Shabbos. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Okay, Mitzvah Hashem. Bye-bye.
Bye. Right, so now we log into Rabbi Levitt.
That's right. Using his link, Rabbi Levitt's regular link.
Not the one that she sent yesterday?
Whatever, yeah, if she sent one yesterday, use that one.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever's the latest.
All right, okay.
I'll have to look and see if I have one from yesterday.
Yeah, what about Yechiel? I don't know.
Yechiel, you need me to send you a link?
You're
muted. Yechiel, you're muted. Okay, you know what? I'll send a link anyway. I'll send a link to you, Yechiel. So if you can't figure it out, then look at your email. Okay, bye-bye.